Hey, everybody, this is Dr. William Clark for the Dr. William Clark podcast. I'm glad to be a part of your morning, of your afternoon, of your day. I hope that you're starting off the new year strong and right. I'm excited to be back in the saddle with you today and to share with you just a little bit. We're going to start this journey in 2020 focusing on fundraising and grant writing and raising money for your nonprofit. And the question you may be having for me is, why are you focusing on this, Doc? Well, my doctoral work was about sustainability, how to sustain a nonprofit and faith-based organization. It's a book that I wrote that's literally right over my left shoulder right there. That green book. And I wrote that book because were at the time many nonprofits that I was a part of, working with, chairing, leading, working in, that didn't have a plan to sustain besides its singular income source. And due to a tragic event that happened at my home church back in 2011, it really started me on this journey at the same time I was starting my doctoral work. And I started studying and researching concepts and strategies around sustainability and the importance of being a sustainable nonprofit and faith-based institution, so that the people who utilize your services have the security of knowing you're going to be around for a very long time and is not dependent upon grants or government contracts, etc. However, part of learning how to become sustainable is learning how to write grants, how to fundraise, how to build up revenue, how to create businesses for your nonprofit. So I've been talking about this for years, and this is nothing new. I am just going to focus on this for 2020. I will throw in some leadership stuff because certainly in my green book, Sustainable, I do talk about leadership, strategy, innovation, etc. And it's all tied into the concept of revenue generation and fundraising. So this is what we're going to be talking about this year. I'm hoping that you're going to be a part of this journey. And I also want you to take a moment to share this podcast, not just this episode, but this entire podcast show, its history, with your friends, and let them know they need to subscribe and be a part of this, because we are hopping on this train and we're going to go forward with everything that we got. So today I want to talk about framing your nonprofit fundraising goals. And I'm going to use something that I talked about yesterday to help you think through how to frame your nonprofit goals. Ultimately, you got to have a goal for your organization, and you got to have financial goals as well as programmatic goals. And many of you who are used to the program side, you understand KPIs, how many people are going to serve, how many people are going to get the full complement of services, how many people are going to stay with us for a defined period of time, etc. Men, women, children, whatever the case may be. Those KPI goals are normal to the program folks who are listening and watching this podcast. So you know and you understand how that works. But I want to talk to the people who are raising the money, people who are fundraising, people who are grant writing, people who are trying to solicit money from donors. What does it mean to have a goal for the year for your organization? And it's not just simply, well, I want to get out X number of grants, which is a fine goal, but you don't know how much each grant is worth. So that can't be the full scope of your goal. You want to have goals that are specific to fundraising. So let's start here with the system that I use quite often to help my students and clients with, and that is the goal setting system. Number one, where are you right now? When you do an assessment of your nonprofit, what have you guys done or accomplished, let's say in the past 12 months, towards any fundraising whatsoever? What is the truth? What is your reality? How much did you raise last year? How much did you raise the year before? And what's the difference? What's the differential there? What is the variance there? And if you're able to, can you articulate why there is a variance between the previous year and this year, whether it's a positive or negative variance? But you want to be clear about where you are right now, because that's going to help you determine how to systematically position yourself to move forward. So where you are right now, what are the ways you're raising money? What are the ways you're not raising money? What are the ways you wish you could raise money, but you just haven't been able to do it? Tell that truth to yourself, right? Be honest about where you are right now. Do you have a database for managing donors? Do you have a database for managing relationships with your funders? Do you have a database with managing your reporting back to your funders, the applications that are due to your funders? Do you have a database for managing anything in your nonprofit? Which is a fair question to ask you, because that is a struggle we all have in the nonprofit world, affording and spending money on technology that is critical to helping us be successful. And so where you are right now, the next step is, where do you want to be? Where do you envision yourself 12 months from now as you look out forward, right? When you start to look at your goals for 2020, you want to articulate what you want to accomplish by the end of this year. Where do you want to be? How much money do you want to raise? How many donors, individual donors, do you want to add to your database? How much money and percentages do you want to raise from individual donors versus grant funds versus events versus new businesses your nonprofit is going to launch? Yes, businesses. And we're going to get into that in this podcast show all year long. I'm going to wear y'all out with that. But where do you want to be percentage-wise? Maybe you're over-relying upon grants and you want to learn how to diversify. Number one, to do that, you need to subscribe to this podcast. And if you have a friend who's in that situation, tell them to subscribe to this podcast show, the Dr. William Clark podcast show. And we're going to talk about that. I've talked about it over the years, but I'm going to dig deep into it this year. But where do you want to be? And put a figure to it, a percentage and a dollar amount. Where's the total dollar amount you want to be at for all fundraising? How much do you want to raise in each category? And what percentage do they represent? And then you want to start to strategize. Step 3, how to get there. What's the plan of attack? Who's going to be in your team to help you do that? Who's going to be some of your allies to help you do that? Is your board going to be on board? Is your CEO going to be on board? Or if you are the CEO, how are you going to get the rest of your staff on board? How to use the entire organization, even if they're not, quote, fundraisers, people who raise money. So you got to get people, you got to have a strategy to make that happen. What partnerships are you going to explore so that you can get closer and closer and closer to your goal? You know, this is a strategy heavy process, and you can't just go out there and wing it. Just like you can't go out there and wing operating your programs. You can't go out there winging, your marketing strategy. You can't go out there winging this stuff. You really got to be invested in what's going on in your fundraising. So how are you going to make it happen? And then lastly, but certainly not least and probably most important, how are you going to measure your goals? How are you going to measure the success that you are trying to achieve? How do you know that you're hitting your dollar amount goals, your percentage goals, your recruitment goals for volunteers and donors and other investor partners? How are you measuring your success as you determine who you want to work with, who you want to partner with, who you want to do business with? This is critical for you to do as you are setting your goals for 2020, your fundraising goals for 2020. I'm going to encourage you to join me on my next webinar at mysixfigurefunding.com, where I'm going to talk about how to triple your fundraising goals in 2020. It is possible, and there are strategies that I've been using, strategies that I have consulted on, strategies I teach on, strategies that I talk about in this book. It's Sustainable. Can I get it right? There it is, Sustainable. Y'all know. Y'all get it. Anyway, the Green Book Sustainable, right? I've been talking about this for years, and I'm going to share this stuff for free. Join me on my webinar, mysixfigurefunding.com, where I'll be sharing this stuff. Register for my upcoming webinar. Share with a friend. Don't be selfish now. Share with a friend and make sure they're part of that, because we're going to talk about how to get closer and closer to our goals, how to triple our output, how to triple our numbers, how to triple our productivity, how to triple our capacity. I'm digging in, and I want you to be a part of that. So that's how you're going to set your fundraising goals for 2020. We're going to be talking about this all year. Join me, subscribe, and I look forward to engaging with all of you in 2020. This is Dr. William Clark, and we'll talk to you next show. Peace.